Hello, everyone. This is Glenn Lord from the Journeys Grief Cruise, and I'm here with Lynda Cheldelin Fell, who will be joining us again this time. This is not her first cruise on here. And Lynda, maybe you could tell everyone a little bit about yourselves.
Well, I am the creator of Grief Diaries, brand of books and radio and film, and I'm also co-founder of the International Grief Institute. I have authored over 35 books, and I speak around the nation about finding hope after loss. And I'm super excited for this next cruise coming up. We did the first one here this year, and it was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So it's a true treat to be part of the next cruise. So thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming. For everyone who doesn't know, can you tell us a little bit about what started your grief journey? What led you down this path?
Well, in 2007, I had a dream, and in the dream, our third born, our daughter Allie, uh, we were in a car, and the car flew off the road into a lake and sank. And Allie sank with the car. She didn't resurface. And the only thing that she left behind was an open book floating face down in the water. And it was such a terrible dream, absolutely horrible. It was one of those vivid dreams. And 2 years later, that dream became reality when our daughter Allie died as a backseat passenger coming home from a swim meet. And that put me on a journey unlike any other. And you know, when you lose a loved one, the first thing many people say is, I didn't know. I didn't know it would be this hard. I didn't know it would be this painful. And I really sought out other people because I needed to know that such a horrible journey was survivable. And in the process, I began turning my own pain into purpose and doing things out in the bereavement world. You know, really, truly, she who heals others heals her own heart. And so one thing led to another, and I started doing things. And fast forward, it'll be 10 years in August of this year. And I've done all kinds of wonderful things that wouldn't have come about if it weren't for the loss of our daughter. But that's where my journey began in 2009 when we lost our teenage daughter in a car accident.
Well, I know you've done a lot to help others with all of this, and I appreciate that. And it was very prophetic dream that really led you down that path, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to go back and I want to talk to you a little bit about because I think you might have shared a thought that many of our potential cruisers share. Let's go back to the first time before you had been on the grief cruise, when I said to you, "Hey, Lynda, how about coming on a grief cruise?" Share with the world a little bit about what your initial thoughts were, not your current thoughts, but what were your thoughts back then when I asked that to you?
I didn't want to go. My husband had been trying to get me to go on a cruise for a long time, and we love to travel, but I get seasick. I get plane sick. I get car sick. And so the thought of going on a cruise and being seasick was not only not appealing, it was horrifying. And I thought, you know, I wanted to be part of something that, like, I wanted to be part of what you guys were doing because it sounded phenomenal. I had heard nothing but good things about it. And so when you said, you know, come on the cruise, I remember I had had a glass of red wine.
I picked the right time.
So I had liquid courage and I said, sure. And, you know, I have to be honest that for a number of months after that, I was thinking, oh my gosh, what did I do? And I was really nervous because I have such a predisposition to getting motion sick. And I mean, I can't go on roller coasters or anything like that. And so I was really worried. And I began to research because I made the commitment and I really did want to be part of something like what you guys were doing because I had heard such wonderful things about it. And so I began to research what are my options to minimize the chance that I would become seasick and spend 7 nights on a 5-star cruise ship ill. And you know, I found out that it is such a huge ship that really you don't even feel the motion. And it proved to be true. And it was absolutely phenomenal. It was phenomenal. But in those first few months after we made the commitment, I was really hesitant and thinking I made a big mistake.
Well, I think it's really important for others to hear that, because I think many people might share that they don't realize that on these giant, modern cruise ships, that you really don't have the same motion that you might have thought otherwise. And there are, as you point out, some things that can be done, to short visit to your doctor to get some of the patches or things of that nature, such that it really doesn't have an impact. So after you went on the cruise, what was your feeling in terms of, first and foremost, in respect to your fear about the motion sickness, but then in general about the cruise?
Well, that first night, I was kind of wondering, like, when am I going to begin to feel motion sick? Because every boat I have gone on, whether a little, 15-foot boat or a ferry boat, every airplane, every helicopter, I would get severely sick. And so that first night, I was kind of waiting for that shoe to drop, and it didn't drop at all. And everything from beginning to end was just absolutely phenomenal on that ship. And when we got off after 7 days, it was really, I felt like on cloud nine. It was such a beautiful experience. The people in the bereavement conference that I met, from the participants to the other presenters and speakers, and the creative activities were incredible. And so, and you mix in with that the stops along the way. We stopped in Jamaica and Haiti and Mexico. It was absolutely phenomenal. And so anyone who would ask me today, would I do a cruise? Absolutely, hands down, try it once. If you don't like it, you never have to do it again, but chances are you're going to love it, because if I did, anyone will. It was really phenomenal, really phenomenal. So much so that, we're doing it again. So, and I can't wait.
Well, not much better to say about than that. But let's talk a little bit about the part of the cruise that Royal Caribbean really didn't have anything to do with, the conference itself. Share a little bit about your impressions from the last cruise, about the conference perspective of the cruise.
Well, the speakers were really impactful. And, oftentimes you think of in a conference, you think of people getting up on the stage and talking to the audience. And this wasn't the case. They were talking with the audience. Each one of them brought something different to the table. And I think that's what the beauty was of the bereavement conference, is that different people who have different takes on healing and hope after loss, every single presenter walked the walk. They had experienced loss. Sometimes they had experienced multiple losses. And they just had such wisdom and compassion. And so, being able to sit and witness the different people who were touched by that, but also learning myself. It was really such an incredible experience all the way around from beginning to end. Really lovely, really, really, really healing. And that's the crux of it, is that, why would people want to come on it? Because it's healing, and it's more healing than you expect.
Well, then you've kind of alluded to my next question, but maybe you could nail this down for someone. You've kind of shared a lot about the kind of your own place where you had your own fears about it from the motion sickness side, and you've shared the wonderfulness of both the cruise and the conference itself. But what would you say was the biggest thing that surprised you about the event?
How good the food was. You know, Having not been on a cruise before, I really didn't know what to expect. And part of my fear about going on a cruise was being enclosed in this little tiny cabin. And really, the cabin was spacious. There was so much storage in there. And we had our own balcony. It was really cool. And also, the ship was massive, massive, thousands of people aboard. And I remember having this vision in my head of, we're going to be thousands of people on one ship. And oh my gosh, claustrophobic and such. And I remember my husband and I would be strolling along through the different neighborhoods on the ship and hardly seeing another soul. That's how big the ship is. And the different places that you could go, it's really a smorgasbord of experiences. You know, if you want a cozy and intimate experience, there's a place for that. If you want a nightlife, you know, dancing kind of place, there's a place for that. The entertainment was phenomenal, phenomenal. And so there was so much on the ship that was surprising to me, and all of it good. There was not a single comment that I would have made about the ship that was, I wish they would have done this better or that better, because it was stellar from top to bottom. So both the cruise as well as the bereavement conference were just knocked it out of the park. Really fantastic.
Well, thank you. And this next cruise, you're going to be joining us in a little bit more pivotal role. You're going to be running kind of our sharing sessions.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that aspect of the cruise and what people might come to expect, from the cruise in regards to that.
Well, you know, I want to backtrack one step. Back when we lost our daughter, I remember hearing about support groups and such, and I never wanted to attend one. I remember thinking that I could hardly breathe through my own pain. How was I going to sit in a group with other people who were struggling with the same? I just couldn't fathom how I could do that. And long story short, you don't know what you don't know. And through the journey, you learn things, and one of which is the beauty of a support group. And so on the conference, on the cruise conference, we had these healing circles. And you know, it's really an emotional time to be able to sit there and hold the sacred space for someone else. And so no one person owned the floor. It was just always a sharing what was on your heart. And when you have that opportunity to talk about what's on your heart, you get to release a little bit of the pain and the sorrow. It feels good to talk about it in a safe place where there's no judgment. You're not being thought of as crazy because everyone there speaks your lost language. They get you. And so the support groups are really an important part of the conference. It's, you know, in addition to the presentations and the workshops and the activities, that the conference offers, but also that you know, the support groups, that intimate, being able to you know, talk with just a small group in an intimate setting and really be honest and candid, and very healing, very healing. You know, tears, of course, but also laughter and just being human, and so in a safe place. So the support groups are really an important element. The people can attend if they want, and they don't have to. They can attend one, skip the next night. It's really what their own unique needs are every night of the cruise. So it's, but it's a wonderful offering. So I'm really, really honored to be able to lead the support groups this next go round, and you know, make sure that people have the tools that they need.
Well, thank you. Before I let you go, I'll just say, is there any last words you'd like to say before we say goodbye to everyone?
Go.
Go, yes, go, and you will be presenting as well as running the Circles of Hope on the next cruise. So please come join myself, Lynda, and a variety of other different guests on what was really a wonderful healing grief
It
cruise.
really is. And take it from me, someone who never wanted to go on a cruise, couldn't fathom, you know, that I would even enjoy it. It is phenomenal. And so go, give yourself that gift of being surrounded by people who understand you, but also have the nuggets of wisdom to help you heal and give you a future powered by hope. There's nothing better.
Excellent. I've stopped the recording now, so we're no longer recording, but.